Hey guys, welcome back to the Honda Resource. Thanks so much for joining me again on another episode. So on today's video, we will be changing the drive shaft on our first gen Honda CRV. This information would be the same for the 97 to 01 Honda CRV and very similar to the CRVs all the way up to like 2011 at least, because I've worked on second gens and third gens and it's near identical for removal of the drive shaft or installing a new drive shaft. So stay tuned and I'll show you the tools you'll need, give you the knowledge you need, and show you the parts that you'll need in order to make this a successful job right in your driveway. Alright, so this is the tools that I'll be using for this job. Pretty straightforward. Got just a little rubber mallet to knock this wrench. Whenever we get to that, get the drive shaft bolts off, it just helps to have something to bump that wrench to get it off. So we got a rubber mallet, we got a ratchet, 14mm socket with a small extension, and we have a 10mm 12-point wrench. You could probably use a socket, 12.10mm wrench, or 12.10mm socket as well. But it's really making it difficult to get in there to where these bolts are, and same deal with a ratcheting wrench. So just a regular old box-in wrench works best. And then I just have a power tool that I'm going to be using. It's not required, but just makes it a little bit faster, expedites the process. And I also forgot to mention that you'll need a 12mm socket. And this is the drive shaft that I'm going to be installing. This is a used factory drive shaft that's in good shape. I just took it off of one of my other CRVs that I have here for parts. And I'm going to be replacing the drive shaft here on my new CRV that I just acquired. I was replacing the rear diff and I noticed that the U-joint up here was bad. So you can see that play there in the drive shaft. And so that is definitely major bad, right? See all that play in there? And a lot of times this is the first one that breaks, is the front U-joint right here off the transmission. And yeah, we're just going to go ahead and get this replaced. Also I want to say that it doesn't matter if your CRV is manual or automatic, the drive shaft is the exact same. So if you're trying to find a used drive shaft or a new one, you can use either manual or automatic. They work identical. The drive shaft that we're going to be installing is from an automatic, and this is a manual CRV. And also, if you're trying to transport your CRV, or if your drive shaft has failed and you can't find another one, you can remove the drive shaft and it just maintains the front wheel drive, and it has no bearing on whether or not the vehicle is drivable if you remove the drive shaft. So if you're just wanting to remove your drive shaft, you'll have 4 10mm 12-point bolts right here, okay, on that flange. And then there's the same here. There's 4 10mm 12-point bolts here on this flange right here on the diff. And then we have 2 14mm bolts right here that hold this hanger bearing. And once that comes out and those 4 bolts on each end come out, this drive shaft will come out, and it is a sealed transmission as far as the yoke is concerned. So once you take off this flange, it still has the transmission flange here and it's sealed, so you're not leaking any fluid there. And the same thing can be said for the rear differential. So you can absolutely remove the drive shaft and make your CRV front wheel drive. Okay, so like I was saying, I'm going to use my rubber mallet and my 10mm wrench, and what I'll put it on here. Sometimes with that U-joint being bad, it kind of gets in the way, so you may have to maneuver it somewhat, but put it on there, and then we got to turn it counterclockwise. And instead of hitting it with my hand or whatever, I just take the rubber mallet and just hit it on the wrench, and it doesn't really take that much just to get them loose. Once we get them all loose, then we can turn them out by hand. You may live in a better or worse spot that has more rust than me, and you just have to take more turns with the wrench as opposed to by hand. In order to get the ones that are on the top, you can either leave your CRV in neutral, or if it's off the ground, you can leave it in neutral and spin it, or you can pull your CRV forward a little bit where it roll this around. There you go. and then we'll do the same thing for these two. There we go. All right. So now now we got all 4 of those out. We can just slip that right off, just like that. And again, you can see that it's a sealed flange. It's not going to leak. See, that one comes right off. And now we're ready to get the hanger bearings off, and we'll be done removing it. The front drive shaft loop is going to have to come out in order to let it come out at all, because it's just not having clearance to be able to get it out of the way. So I'm going to go ahead and take that off with my 12 millimeter. 1 and 2. All right, and now this drive shaft should be able to slide right out of here, just like that. And there's our drive shaft. So now we just got to grab the other one, slide it back in. All right, so we just need to make sure that we have the orientation of the drive shaft in the right way, because of the way the hanger bearing is. I mean, it can only go in one way, so if you start to go in and it's not lining up, turn it around, flip it around. So this one is the one we're putting in. That's the one we just took out. The hanger bearing goes towards the back. So if you see that little flex joint there, that goes towards the front of the vehicle, and then the hanger bearing is on the back side. So that's the rear flange, and that's the front flange. All right, so now we're ready to go back in with our new, aka used, drive shaft. So we'll slide it in that back bracket, just like so. And it'll like sit there. I mean, you don't have to sit there and manually hold it. And we'll grab this other one, strap here, slide it back into place some. Go ahead and get a bolt started in this. Go ahead and tighten these 2 bolts. All right. And then we'll go ahead and put in the 2 bolts for the hanger bearing. And also up here, whenever you're putting in these flange bolts, I would recommend starting all 4 of them before you tighten any of them all the way down. Bump these down with my hammer to make sure they're back to good and snug. Not hitting them super hard. Like I said, just to make sure they're snug. And then we'll move to the back and do those other 4. All right, so now here on the rear 4, just do the same process. And if it doesn't want to line up and you can't spin the drive shaft, you can always spin a wheel and it will turn the flange and to where you can get it lined up. Well, there you have it. Like I said, it's pretty straightforward to do this drive shaft swap or drive shaft removal in the event that you're just trying to remove your drive shaft. It's, like I said, it's pretty straightforward. It should be no more than a 15 to 20 minute job, you know, to really depend on the work conditions you have. You know, if you're laying on the ground and 2 of the wheels are touching the ground or something, it can definitely add a degree of difficulty, but it's definitely possible. I would say that if you are working on the ground, I would recommend either jacking up the front or the rear completely off the ground. If it was me, I would jack the rear off the ground completely and then connect the rear shaft here first, and then you can spin the wheels and by spinning the wheels, it'll turn the drive shaft to where it'll line up with the flange on the transmission. That would be my recommendation if you're doing it on the ground. With it on lift, I just did the front. I did the front first and then the rear. So it's whatever works best for you. So I hope this video was super useful to you, and if it was, please make sure you smash that like button, leave me a comment below and let me know it helped you. All those, they really give me motivation to know that I'm doing a good job here and that I'll keep making these videos for you guys. So again, like, comment, and I do appreciate those subscribes too. I have plenty of other DIY CRV repairs and whatnot, so definitely check out the channel and the playlist on those. And we'll see you on the next one. See ya. Peace.